Give me a Viking with hair. Long, beautiful hair. Totally naked otherwise. Hello, Croix and all, welcome back. Jimmy here. So one of my videos last year kind of blew up a little bit, which is, I think, where a lot of you guys may have come from, so hi, thank you. And I kind of got a load of similar questions on that video that were all relating to a similar theme, and that theme is Viking hairdos, and specifically the actual evidence that we have for Viking hairdos. So we're going to take a little look at that today. Before we jump straight in, I want to say thank you to all my new patrons on Patreon. We've just started a Discord server and we've got like 50 people on it already, so it's great fun. Hop on over there if you're interested. I'll put a link in the description and you can find out more information. So, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Thank you very much to you. And I also want to say that I'm not going to be doing a phrase of the week for this video. Instead, what I'm going to do is do some sort of occasional videos about Welsh language and Welsh language learning. Okay, that's enough. Hair. So one of the main questions that I got quite frequently was, have you heard of the Suebian knot? And the answer to that is yes, of course I've heard of the Suebian knot. I did a video about reenactorisms and Viking hairstyles, and the first place everybody always goes to is the Suebian knot. The Suebian knot, if you haven't heard of it, is a knot attributed to the Germanic tribes, specifically the Suebi, in the Roman imperial period. And we actually have evidence for it that's quite widespread. We have bronzes like this, and we have carved stones like this, and we actually have 2 preserved bog bodies with Suebian knot hairdos. And we have one that is a complete skull with the full head of hair, and we have one that is basically a wig. It's just the hair, which is kind of sad. And I really hope that the archaeologists who found that didn't put the hair on, but I feel like they definitely did. I really hope they didn't. I would have. The Suebian knot is absolutely not an undercut. There's this idea, because in my other video I criticised the shaved sides of the head. Ragnar from Vikings hairdo as a reenactorism, which it is, and people were saying, oh, but what about the Suebian knot? That's shaved sides of the head. It's not an undercut at all. You don't need an undercut for the Suebian knot. In fact, all of the evidence points to people not using an undercut. And the preserved head that we have, I think it's the Oseberg man, doesn't have a shaved head. He has male pattern baldness. His hair is thinning. He has really thin hair on the sides of his head. So rather than this being a perfect example of this Viking Age hairdo, it's actually a 1st and 2nd century Germanic Celtic hairdo that was recognised by the Romans and doesn't involve you shaving your head at all. So, sorry. I wish we had evidence of it in the Viking Age, I really do, because I think it's a pretty neat hairdo. I think it's fantastic that you can just tie a knot in your hair and leave it there. It doesn't require anything else, it just needs you to have long hair, you tie it up in a fancy cool knot, and you just sort of pop it on the side of your head. Seems really practical. So the next thing that I'm going to address is the actual evidence of hairdos from the Viking Age. Now, we do have evidence from the Viking Age of hair, and I don't just mean people owning hair, I mean the way that they wore their hair. The overwhelming evidence for it is either long hair, just worn long, sometimes in a plait, or just a short hairdo of some sort. It's difficult to tell. A lot of the runestones that we have to use as our evidence are people in profile with no facial features, no details at all. They're just a flat silhouette, almost, of a person. Sometimes with a pointy beard, sometimes without a beard, sometimes with what looks like long hair. Really difficult to tell. I mean, try and figure out the hairdo from this, for goodness sake. But 2 of the places people have been sort of frequently telling me, oh, but we've got evidence of the Ragnar hairdo from these places are, 1, the Gosforth stone. So let's look at that. So the Gosforth stone is from Cumbria in the northwest of England, and it is a large cross, the Gosforth Cross, I should call it. It's a large Christian cross that also has elements of Norse mythology on it, and Norse religious images, including Loki bound in chains, which is from one of the Norse religious stories. Loki, in this image, we seem to see him wearing some kind of the hairdo. Now it's difficult to tell because, once again, this is a very, very simplistic image. He seems to be wearing his hair plaited. To me, that is somebody attempting to draw plaits. When I was a kid and I tried to draw plaits, I would do like a sausage outline and then sort of do a crisscross in the middle. This doesn't have the crisscross, but it looks to me like plaits. What it doesn't definitively show is a man with a top knot and the very top of his head left unshaven. That's not a Ragnar hairdo, guys. Come on. I mean, maybe it's bound with ribbons at various points. Maybe it's even gartered with ribbons down the ponytail, but it's not that. For sure it's not that. What it does show is the combination of Christian and Norse religious elements in one place, which suggests a great deal of cross-cultural contact and harmony between the pagan and the Christian. Really quite nicely dispelling that whole pagan versus Christian argument that the racists love to use so much. Thanks, actual Vikings. So the next piece of evidence people have been really pushing as a response to my video is the Inchmonnock stone, or Inchmonnock on Gaelic. The Inchmonnock stone is a really difficult one. It's a really cool one, but it's a really difficult one, because it's a childlike scroll. I'm not being harsh here. I've got an actual picture by a 9-year-old child of the Bayeux tapestry that is better quality than this stone. Ugh. Like, this does not show an undercut. This is a toddler's scroll of big bad man with big bad hair. Like, this is big bad man hair. It's like wild rah hair because this is a scary man taking a monk away. It's actually more interesting because of what it shows us about the Christian monk here. He's clearly a member of the Celtic Church with a house shrine carried on his wrist, and he's being taken away by 3 men in mail to ships, presumably Norse raiders, but equally they might be not Norse raiders. Doesn't say that they're Norse, we're just assuming that. But hair-wise, I'm kind of more interested in the monk than the Vikings, because the Vikings have got big, wild, wavy hair, but in terms of Celtic Christianity, the Celtic tonsure is one of those really big, interesting debates that we still don't really have an answer to. What did the Celtic tonsure look like? How was it applied? Who wore it? Mystery. Absolute mystery. I'm sure you guys have got your own theories. Feel free to share them in the comments. So the next piece of evidence that people have been promoting in response to that video is this head from a cart from the Oseberg grave. Now, the Oseberg ship's amazing. If you haven't been to see it, I highly recommend. It's fantastic. It's a double female inhumation. 2 women were buried in this massive ship with tons of grave goods. They had beds, they had furniture, there's a cart, there's tapestries, there's embroidery, there's loads of tablet weave, there's absolutely tons of stuff, there's cannabis seeds, and it's just an amazing assemblage. Fantastic thing. Like, I can't emphasize enough how cool this is that we found this. This is the head that people have been talking about, and to me, that's a beardy man wearing a hat. And people have been trying to convince me that it's hair, but I think that's a hat. Like, it goes around, and it's a hat to me. And even if it is hair, it's separate to the ponytail that's shown carved on the back. So what is it, a wig on top of his ponytail? Is he just, like, Captain Picarding it above here, and he's got a ponytail at the back? I'm like, that's a, what? It's not a realistic depiction. He's got a beard and a ponytail, maybe a hat, maybe hair. It's hard to tell. It's super difficult to tell, but once again, what it doesn't depict is the soccer. It's not the Ragnar do. I'm sorry, it's just not. Ragnar's got enough room for a stupid dragon head tattoo right above his ear. And, like, that's not something supported by any of what we've just seen. So one of the other things that people were saying is, oh, this is a warrior's haircut. It's a warrior haircut for warriors, for real men. And yet all of the depictions we have of warriors don't show this hairdo. That's not this hairdo. That's certainly not this hairdo. That's absolutely not this hairdo. And in case anybody thinks that this video is just me dumping on man buns, I've got one right now. Okay? I don't hate the Ragnar haircut. I think it's a pretty badass haircut if you're in a metal band. I just don't like it when people claim that it's based on solid historical evidence when it's not. That's my problem with it. I don't have a problem with people wearing it. I don't have a problem with Viking reenactors wearing it. I have a problem with the fact that it is a modern hairdo that has been popularised and is now being claimed to be completely historically accurate, which it isn't, and you can't claim that. Nothing that we do as reenactors is completely historically accurate, at all. This sword? Too short, blunt, made of the wrong kind of metal. This shield? Plywood. This helmet? Wrong kind of steel. Nearly twice the size of the original because of my massive dome. Nothing we do as historical reenactors is ever 100% accurate. Ever. And especially things like nuanced haircuts. Did a Viking at some point wear the Ragnar haircut? Sure, why not? Do we have evidence that it was a particularly popular haircut from the period? Absolutely 100% not. No, we don't. Nobody can make that argument and not be lying. One of the other things that people have been saying, and this is a fairly regular one, is they have been quoting Ælfric of Eynsham. Now, Ælfric of Eynsham was an abbot in the end of the 10th century and early 11th century, and he actually wrote some manuscripts that we still have fragments of. He wrote part of the Book of Genesis in one of the preserved books that we have, which is really kind of cool, because this guy lived 1,000 years ago, and we've got some of his work preserved. One of the things he also did was he wrote a letter. And his letter is to a man called Brother Edward. Not his brother, Edward, as some people have said on the internet. Brother Edward. He's a monk. He's a monk writing to another monk. Come on, guys. In this letter, it's claimed by a lot of people, some of the people who've been commenting on my previous video, that Ælfric, and this is how you spell his name, was writing a letter complaining about the Vikings and their hair. That is not what is happening here. At all. What is happening here is Ælfric, Abbot of Eynsham, is writing to Brother Edward, a fellow monk, possibly another abbot, we don't know, complaining about Anglo-Saxons wearing Danish-style hair. He's not even talking about the Danes. He's talking about Anglo-Saxons. These youngsters today wearing Danish haircuts with their bared necks and their blinded eyes. What does that mean? Well, bared neck is fairly obvious. They don't have hair on their neck. But I don't know about you, but I grow hair on my neck right here. So does he mean that they're shaving their beards completely? Does he mean that they're shaving up to here? Does it mean that they're shaving all the way up to the crown? Hard to tell, it's from 1,000 years ago. Oh yeah, also, this is from the very end of the 10th, early 11th century. So this is absolutely not the start of the Viking Age. It's like middle to end of the Viking Age. And he's not talking about Vikings. And he's probably referencing Danish fashion in the Danelaw. A lot of Christian Danes in the Danelaw. So what he's actually probably referring to is a forerunner of this. The really famous Norman haircut from the Bayeux Tapestry. It's an embroidery, but still, whatever. So this was made around 1070 in England, and it depicts a Norman haircut that, to all intents and purposes, is bare neck, fringe at the front, so blinded eyes, right? They've got a kind of front fringe, shaved all around the neck, up to the back, kind of shaved sides, but also shaved everywhere else. They've just got a hair island. They've got a hair island! That is a very niche podcasting reference. Very impressed if anyone gets that in the comments. I will give you a pint. I will buy you a pint if you get that reference. So I think that what Ælfric of Eynsham is actually referencing here is the sort of late Danish, early Norman hairdo that becomes more popular in the 11th century that we see on the Bayeux tapestries, right? He's probably not talking about the Ragnar haircut. Why would this be the Ragnar haircut? That doesn't make sense. And this is where I do something that I never, ever, ever expected to be doing in one of my videos. I'm going to compliment Vikings. Check out Bjorn's hair. Bare neck and blinded eyes, isn't it? Damn it! I hate that they did so well on this haircut. It's a Norman haircut. It is a Norman haircut. And yes, the Normans were descended from the Norse. That's where the word Norman comes from. Northman, Norman. It's not a difficult leap. But they are not Norse by the time of the Bayeux Tapestry, and people need to stop saying that. They are speaking French, they are Christian, they have a bishop in their army. So, just stop. And don't at me with that garbage. I hate to say it, but yeah, they kind of nailed that one. Unfortunately, the rest of the hairdos, don't even get me started, take it away, in Vikings are pretty much fantasy. But it's a fantasy show, and it's got a supreme cheek calling itself any kind of history. I'm going to move on now from what people have been saying in response to the video to kind of the next stage, which is, okay, so where do we find out more? Well, go to the primary sources. Every single secondary source on this is going to be weakened somehow because it's a secondary source. If it's a later Anglo-Saxon description, it's biased against the Norse. If it's the sagas, it's a Christian Icelandic 13th century fictionalized history book. If it's modern reenactors, they're modern reenactors. They're 21st century people and 20th century people. They're not Vikings. They wear their hair how they want, 99% of the time. And 99% of the time, it's probably not authentic to the period. I mean, my hair's probably not authentic to the period right now, and it's a very, very conservative version of the Ragnar haircut. Small c conservative. Oh god, I'm not a Tory. Please don't think I'm a Tory. Look at the primary evidence and make your own interpretations. And I'm not saying that you can't wear your hair how you want at a reenactment. Once again, wear your hair how you like. You're a modern human being. The thing that you should be really striving to make as accurately as possible is your general impression. So your clothes, your kit, your accessories. Your hair is part of your body and you have complete autonomy over that. As far as I'm concerned, you can have dyed pink, half shaved with a pixie cut on the other side. I don't care. I will tell you your hair is badass. It's just somebody's hair, guys. Come on, chill out. And ask other people what they think. There are plenty of knowledgeable people out there. If you're on the Discord for my patrons, throw loads of primary sources into there. We've got a great discussion going on the Discord right now. It's a really cool community, so absolutely join in the discussion and throw in your opinions. No judgment, just your interpretation. Interpretation is what this is all about. That's the whole point of historical reenactment. Having said that, if you do try to make your hair as authentic as possible, and if you have inauthentic hair and you cover it up at events under your own steam, good on you for trying to make yourself look as immersively authentic to the period as possible. That's a really, really cool thing to do, and I really appreciate people who do that. I mean, I try to do it. I never wear nail varnish when I'm in kit at an event. I always try to make my facial hair and my hair at least look sort of authentic. It's cool. People are more likely to take photos of you like that as well, so, you know, it's your absolute hooer for the cameras like I am. Breathe a lot of water in that! It's not the Rona. One of the other big things that people wanted to talk about in terms of my other video was the combat gloves, the Viking combat gloves, saying that you need gloves of some sort to take part in Viking reenactment combat. And I agree. I think everybody should wear some kind of hand protection. I'm a musician. I play the cello, so I do not want to damage my hands irreparably doing my hobby. So please don't think that I'm saying don't wear gloves in combat. Wear gloves in combat, but also own the fact that they are not authentic. You can make them more authentic by making leather mittens and then lining them. You could even put metal inside the leather. Be very careful, make sure it's not going to make direct contact with your hands. Consult an armourer. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like that's probably enough talking about Viking hair for one video. So thank you so much for joining me. Diolch yn fawr iawn I pob un ohonoch chi am ymuno. And until the next time, hwyl am y tro. Bye for now. See this helmet? See this yarm helmet? I'm gonna get it blackened.